focus. Focus. Just focus on yourself, because here's the truth. Most people live their lives trying to tune into everyone else's frequency. They're scrolling, comparing, measuring, and shrinking themselves to fit into somebody else's highlight reel. And every time they do that, they lose the only real superpower they've ever had: their own energy, their own vision, their own drive. When you focus on yourself, you take back control. You stop bleeding energy into the opinions of people who don't pay your bills, who don't walk in your shoes, who don't live with your dreams. You stop asking for permission to shine. You stop waiting for validation. You start owning your space. See, focus is like fire scattered everywhere, and it's just smoke, weak, unfocused, gone with the wind. But put it all in one place, one target, and it becomes a laser. A laser can cut through steel. That's what happens when you stop worrying about what's outside of you and you lock in on your growth, your discipline, your mission. Every breakthrough in history, every entrepreneur, every athlete, every leader, you know what they did. They turned the volume down on the world and turned the volume up on themselves. They listened to their vision, their hunger, their standard, and because of that, the world had to listen too. The world doesn't change when you try to please it. The world changes when you focus on becoming undeniable. Focus on building the version of you that cannot be ignored. So stop scattering, stop doubting, stop delaying. Your future self is begging you. Focus, focus. Just focus on yourself. Focus, focus. Just focus on yourself, because listen, every single day distractions are coming for you. They're everywhere. Notifications buzzing, opinions flying, doubts creeping in, temptations knocking at your door. And if you're not intentional, if you're not disciplined, you'll spread your energy across 1,000 things that don't matter. And at the end of the day, you'll wonder why you're exhausted but empty. You know why? Because your energy went everywhere except to you, except to your vision, except to the life you say you want. When you focus on yourself, you reclaim that energy. You take it back from the noise. You take it back from the critics. You take it back from the comparison game. You stand tall in your lane and you say, this is my race. This is my mission. This is my life. Now, let me tell you something powerful. People think selfishness is a bad thing. They confuse focus with arrogance. But here's the deal. The best gift you can give the world is the strongest version of yourself. The best father, the best mother, the best leader, the best creator, the best friend comes from someone who has invested in themselves, who has sharpened their mind, strengthened their body, fortified their spirit. You can't pour from an empty cup. And so many of you are trying to pour into everybody else while your own cup is bone dry. And then you wonder why you feel resentment, why you feel burnout, why you feel like life is passing you by. The answer is simple, FOTUS. Focus is discipline. Focus is power. Focus is freedom. Because when you focus, you cut away the unnecessary. You eliminate what doesn't matter, and elimination is liberation. Think about it. Why are champions champions? It's not just talent. It's not just luck. It's because they mastered the art of saying no. No to distraction, no to excuses, no to mediocrity. They made a contract with themselves that their focus would stay on what matters most. And that's the invitation to you right now. Well, if you stop chasing everything and started locking in on one thing, your growth, your standard, your dream. When you focus on yourself, you stop being reactive. Most people are like leaves in the wind. They go wherever the gust of opinion takes them. Somebody criticizes them, they fall apart. Somebody praises them, they feel worthy. That's not power. That's slavery to circumstance. True power is when you know who you are, you know what you're building, and you stay steady no matter what the outside world says. Because the world will always have opinions. The world will always have noise. The world will always have reasons why you shouldn't, couldn't, or wouldn't. But the world is not living your life. You are. So you've got to train your focus. Just like a muscle, just like the gym. You don't get strong by working out once. You don't get disciplined by meditating one time. You build focus by practicing every single day. Wake up, and before you touch your phone, decide, what is my intention today? What is the one thing I'm committed to moving forward? Not 50 things. One thing. Because scattered focus creates scattered results. Let me paint you a picture. You've got sunlight. Sunlight is warm. It's nice. It lights the world. But focus that same sunlight through a magnifying glass and it can set a fire. That's what your mind is like. You've got light, you've got energy, you've got potential. But unless you focus it, it's just warm. It's not fire. When you focus on yourself, you become fire. And listen, this isn't about shutting the world out. It's about creating such a strong core, such a strong center that you can stand in the middle of the storm and still move forward. People are going to doubt you. That's a given. People are going to misunderstand you. That's a guarantee. And people are going to project their fears onto you because they're afraid to step into their own focus. That's their story, not yours. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is not to defend yourself. Your job is not to live according to their expectations. Your job is to lock in on your path and execute. Because let me tell you, the moment you stop focusing on yourself and start chasing approval, you lose. You hand over your power. You become a puppet dancing on strings somebody else is pulling. And let's be honest, most people don't even know what they want for their own lives, so why would you let them dictate yours? Focus is freedom. And when you focus, you find clarity, you find certainty, you find strength, you find momentum. That's the game changer. Because when you're scattered, you keep starting over. One week it's the gym, next week it's a new side hustle, then it's meditation, then it's something else. No momentum, just starts and stops. But when you focus on yourself, one vision, one mission, one standard, you start stacking days, stacking wins, stacking energy. And pretty soon, you're unstoppable because progress compounds. Small improvements every day over time create massive transformation, but only if you're focused. Ask yourself, what do I want? Not what do they want from me, not what looks good on Instagram, not what sounds safe. What do I deep in my soul want? That's your North Star. And once you find it, focus on it relentlessly. Protect it like it's oxygen. People will try to pull you away. They'll say, come on, just relax, just settle, just be realistic. But their realism is often code for their fear. Their settle is often code for their surrender. Don't let their limits become your limits. Focus on your own vision. Now, here's the catch. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean it'll be easy. In fact, it means it's going to get hard. Because when you decide to focus, you decide to cut away the comfort of distraction. You decide to stop hiding behind busywork, behind other people's problems, behind excuses. And suddenly, it's just you and your dream staring each other in the face. That's raw. That's uncomfortable. But that's where growth happens. Growth happens when you say, no more running, no more hiding, no more excuses. I'm here, I'm focused, and I'm not backing down. That's where breakthroughs are born. Because when you stay with the discomfort, when you focus through the temptation to quit, something shifts inside you. You build grit, you build certainty, you build self-respect, and that's everything. Because when you respect yourself enough to keep your promises, to show up, to focus, you stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop living at 50%. You stop playing small. You rise. And people around you will notice. They'll feel it. They'll see that something in you has changed. That your energy is different. That your standard is higher. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. Because here's the paradox. The more you focus on yourself, the more impact you can have on others. The stronger your foundation, the more you can give. The clearer your vision, the more you can lead. The sharper your edge, the more you can serve. But it starts with focus. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, not when everybody else approves. Now, because now is all you have. Every time you delay, every time you say, I'll start later, you weaken your muscle of focus. You train yourself to drift, and drifting leads nowhere. Decide now, lock in now, commit now. And once you do, guard that focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future, your potential, your legacy, it all depends on what you choose to focus on today. That's the standard. That's the call. Focus, focus. Just focus on yourself. Focus, focus. Just focus on yourself. Because listen, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to hand you your dream on a silver platter. Nobody is going to knock on your door one morning and say, congratulations, today everything gets easier. That's a fantasy. Life doesn't reward wishful thinking. Life rewards clarity. Life rewards execution. Life rewards relentless focus. And I'm telling you right now, every time you give your attention to someone else's life instead of your own, you're stealing from your future. You're taking the energy that could be used to build your dream and you're wasting it on gossip, comparison, envy, and distraction. That's why people feel drained, because they're leaking energy into places that don't serve them. When you focus on yourself, you stop leaking. You become a container that holds power, builds pressure, and explodes forward. You stop being reactive to every little thing. You stop being pulled like a puppet by other people's strings. You start writing your own script, directing your own movie, owning your own stage. But here's the challenge. You've been conditioned to look outward, conditioned to care what everyone else is doing, how everyone else is living, whether or not people approve of you. Since childhood, society has trained you to look left and right, not inward. That conditioning is strong. That programming is heavy, but it can be broken. And the way you break it is through radical focus on yourself. You start by saying, I'm not running their race, I'm running mine. I'm not here to meet their expectations. I'm here to meet my potential. And the moment you make that decision, something shifts. You feel a spark. That spark is freedom. That spark is possibility. That spark is power. And if you keep feeding it with focus, it grows into a fire that nobody can put out. Now, let me tell you a story. Think about an archer. If the archer is looking around at the crowd, looking at the wind, looking at who's watching, guess what? They miss the shot. The arrow doesn't care about the noise. The arrow only cares about one thing, the target. And when the archer locks in, when they focus all their attention, their body, their breath, their mind on that target, the arrow flies straight. That's your life. Your target is your dream. Your arrow is your focus. And if you want to hit the bullseye, you can't keep looking around at what everyone else is doing. You've got to lock in. And here's the truth. Focus is not natural in today's world. We live in a society designed to break your focus. Notifications, advertisements, social media, opinions, distractions, it's all engineered to steal your attention. Because attention is the most valuable currency in the world today. Companies know it. Politicians know it. Marketers know it. And they're fighting for it every second. So if you don't claim your focus, someone else will. If you don't own your attention, someone else is profiting from it. And if you spend your days feeding everybody else's agenda, don't be surprised when your own dreams starve. That's why I say focus on yourself, because you are the only project that will be with you for a lifetime. Businesses may fail, relationships may end, seasons may change, but you are the one constant. Your mind, your body, your spirit, those are your real assets. And if you don't invest in them, if you don't strengthen them, if you don't focus on them, you'll always be fragile. You'll always be dependent. But when you focus, you become unstoppable, because focus is leverage, focus is amplification. Focus takes small efforts and multiplies them. Think about water. Water is soft, it flows, it bends, but focus that water into a jet and it can cut through steel. That's the difference between scattered energy and focused energy. Scattered energy feels busy but gets nowhere. Focused energy feels purposeful and moves mountains. So ask yourself right now, where have you been scattering? Where have you been leaking? Where have you been busy but not effective? Be honest. Because honesty is the first step to clarity, and clarity is the foundation of focus. Maybe you've been saying yes to everybody else, but no to yourself. Maybe you've been chasing instant gratification instead of long-term fulfillment. Maybe you've been working hard but not working aligned. That's why you feel tired but not fulfilled. That's why you feel busy but not progressing. The solution is not to do more, it's to focus on less, to narrow your vision, to get clear on what truly matters, and then to give it everything you've got. And listen, focusing on yourself doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean you never care about others. It means you strengthen your foundation so you can show up with more energy, more clarity, more love, more impact. You can't give what you don't have. And when you're scattered, you've got nothing to give. But when you're focused, when you're centered, when you're locked in, you overflow. That's the paradox. The more you focus on yourself, the more you can give to others. But it starts with you. And here's something else. You've got to stop apologizing for focusing on yourself. Stop apologizing for saying no. Stop apologizing for protecting your time, your energy, your vision. Because the people who guilt you for focusing on yourself are usually the ones benefiting from your distraction. They want you available for their problems, their drama, their needs. But you've got to decide, are you here to live their life or yours? You can't be both the rescuer of everyone else and the creator of your own destiny at the same time. At some point, you've got to choose. And if you're brave enough to choose yourself, the world might resist at first, but eventually it will respect you, because the world respects those who respect themselves, and respect is built on focus. Now let's get practical. How do you focus on yourself? First, you decide what you want, not vaguely, not I just want to be happy. No, specifically, what do you want your health to look like? What do you want your finances to look like? What do you want your relationships to feel like? What do you want your life to stand for? Get specific. Clarity creates focus. Second, you eliminate distractions. You can't focus on yourself if you're constantly surrounded by noise. That means turning off notifications. That means unfollowing accounts that trigger comparison. That means saying no to obligations that drain you. Elimination is not loss, it's liberation. Third, you build rituals. Daily practices that remind you of your focus. Morning routines, journaling, exercise, meditation, whatever works for you. Because focus isn't a one-time decision, it's a habit. It's something you reinforce every day until it becomes your default state. Fourth, you guard your environment, because environment is stronger than willpower. You can't stay focused if you're surrounded by people who are scattered, distracted, and negative. But when you put yourself in environments that support growth, with people who are locked in, your focus strengthens naturally. And fifth, you hold yourself accountable, because the mind loves to wander, and without accountability, you drift. That's why you track progress. That's why you set standards. That's why you keep promises to yourself, because every time you follow through, you prove to your subconscious, I can be trusted. I stay focused, I execute. And that self-trust is priceless, because when you trust yourself, when you respect yourself, when you focus on yourself, you become unstoppable. You stop doubting, you stop waiting, you stop hesitating, you move. You execute, you create, and life responds. Opportunities open up, energy increases, momentum builds, and suddenly the dream that felt far away starts to feel inevitable. Not because the world changed, but because you change your focus. Focus is the switch. Focus is the lever. Focus is the multiplier. And every single day, you have a choice to focus on yourself or focus on the noise. One leads to power. The other leads to emptiness. One builds you. The other drains you. One creates a future. The other keeps you stuck in the present. So choose. Choose every day. Choose every breath. Focus. Focus. Just focus on yourself. Focus. Focus. Just focus on yourself. Because here's the deal, your life changes the moment you decide that your attention belongs to you, not to your fears, not to your critics, not to your distractions, to you. That's where the shift happens. That's when things start moving. See, most people never realize how much of their life they're giving away. Every time they check their phone first thing in the morning, their day doesn't belong to them anymore. It belongs to whatever message, whatever notification, whatever feed they just consumed. Every time they compare themselves to somebody else online, their confidence doesn't belong to them anymore. It belongs to someone else's highlight reel. Every time they say yes to something that doesn't align with their vision, their future doesn't belong to them anymore. It belongs to someone else's agenda. But when you focus on yourself, you take it all back. You reclaim your mornings, your energy, your confidence, your future. This is mine. This is my life. This is my time. And I'm not giving it away anymore. That decision changes everything. Because focus is direction, and without direction, you drift, and drifting feels safe, it feels easy, but it leads nowhere. You know what drifting looks like? It looks like living the same year 40 times and calling it a life. That's what happens when you don't focus. You stay busy, you stay distracted, you stay average, but focus breaks the cycle. When you focus on yourself, you start living intentionally, you stop waiting for someday, you stop saying, when things calm down, then I'll know. No, you create your path now, you move now, you execute now. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about being locked in. It's about asking yourself every day, am I moving closer to the life I want, or am I moving further away? That's the measure. Not what they think, not what they say, not how they judge. Just am I closer or am I drifting? And you know the answer. Deep down, you always know. You feel it. You feel when you're aligned. You feel when you're off. That's your inner compass. That's your intuition. And the more you focus on yourself, the louder it gets, the clearer it gets, the stronger it gets. But the opposite is also true. The more you focus on everyone else, the quieter your own voice becomes. Until one day, you don't even hear it anymore. That's when people wake up at 40, 50, 60 and say, whose life have I been living? Don't let that be you. Focus on yourself now. While you've got time, while you've got energy, while you've got the ability to create change. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for approval. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because that moment doesn't exist. The perfect moment is the one you decide to claim, and you claim it by focusing. Now let me tell you something about energy. Energy flows where focus goes. You've heard that before, but have you lived it? Have you tested it? Because the truth is, the moment you put consistent focus on something, your health, your craft, your relationships, it begins to grow. It begins to shift. It begins to transform. It doesn't matter how small you start. What matters is where your focus is directed, because focus compounds, it stacks, it multiplies. That's why athletes train the same shot thousands of times. That's why entrepreneurs stay obsessed with their vision, even when no one else believes. That's why creators spend hours perfecting their craft when nobody's watching, because they understand focus turns average into excellence. Focus turns ordinary into extraordinary. Focus turns impossible into inevitable. And yet most people scatter. They try to do everything. They try to please everyone. They try to chase 10 different goals at once. And they wonder why nothing sticks, why nothing grows, why nothing lasts. It's because their energy is spread too thin. You can't boil water at 50 degrees. You've got to lock in and turn up the heat. That's what focus does. It raises the temperature of your life. And let's be real, focus takes courage. Because the moment you focus, you have to say no. No to distractions, no to comfort, no to approval, no to the easy way out. That's hard. People won't understand. Some will criticize. Some will try to pull you back. Some will even resent you, but their reaction doesn't matter. Their understanding isn't required, because at the end of the day, they don't live with your regrets. You do. They don't carry your potential. You do. They don't walk in your shoes. You do. So you've got to choose their comfort or your calling. And listen, focus isn't glamorous at first. It's not applause. It's not instant results. It's not fireworks. Focus is quiet. Focus is daily. Focus is discipline. Focus is saying no to things that feel good now so you can say yes to things that feel incredible later. Focus is setting your alarm. Focus is putting in the reps. Focus is writing when you don't feel inspired. Focus is showing up when nobody's clapping. Focus is building momentum when nobody believes. That's the grind. That's the price. That's the path. And the ones who stay focused long enough, they win. They separate. They break through, because consistency compounds. And consistency only comes from focus. But here's the best part. The more you focus, the easier it gets. At first, it feels like resistance. It feels like discipline. It feels like sacrifice. But over time, it becomes who you are. It becomes automatic. It becomes your identity, and identity is destiny. Because once you see yourself as someone who is focused, someone who follows through, someone who stays locked in, you stop negotiating, you stop doubting, you stop drifting. You just do. You just execute. You just live aligned. That's where freedom is. That's where fulfillment is. That's where power is, and it's available to you right now. If you decide to focus, so ask yourself, what would my life look like if I gave myself the gift of pure focus for the next 6 months? No distractions, no excuses, no half efforts, just 6 months of locking in on my growth, my health, my craft, my dream. Who would I become? What would I create? What would I prove to myself? And the answer is more than you can imagine. Because when you give yourself the gift of focus, life gives you the gift of transformation. Focus, focus. Just focus on yourself. So here's the bottom line. Your life is waiting for you to claim it, not halfway, not when it's convenient, not when everybody approves, right now. And the only way you claim it is by locking your eyes, your energy, your heart, your fire on yourself. Because when you focus on yourself, you stop living by default and start living by design. You stop shrinking into the background and start stepping into the life you were born to create. You stop begging for permission and start owning your power. The world doesn't need another copy, another people pleaser, another distracted dreamer. The world needs the focused, unstoppable, undeniable version of you. So cut the noise, guard your energy, say no to what doesn't serve you. Say yes to your vision. And every single day, remind yourself of this truth focus. Focus. Just focus on yourself and watch how the world has no choice but to rise to meet the power you've unleashed.